there, and welcome to another episode on Let's Talk Wellness with Shal. My name is Shalini. I'm a corporate tech professional and a wellness coach. The vision of this podcast is to empower you with knowledge on holistic wellness and self care. Please do follow, like, or subscribe, and you can look up Let's Talk Wellness with Shal, SHAL, on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, or Apple. Today, I'm very excited to have Erica join us. Erica is a certified life purpose coach, a passionate mental health advocate, and a survivor of childhood trauma. With a journey deeply rooted in healing and transformation, she has turned her personal experiences into a mission to inspire and empower women who have faced similar challenges. Having overcome her own struggles, she now dedicates time to help women reclaim their self-worth, embrace their true selves, and uncover their life's purpose. With 7 coaching certifications, she combines practical strategies with heartfelt guidance to lead women through the profound journey of self-discovery. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you.
And I'm so excited to have you here all the way from Canada. So you're my 3rd international guest.
Amazing.
Yes.
Love that.
All right. So, Erica, why don't you just start by sharing a bit about your personal journey? How did you get on this path of, self-discovery? How did this all begin?
Absolutely. So, my journey obviously started from my childhood trauma and overcoming that. My journey was a ride of learning. I started very young. My childhood trauma started very young. And I was on the path of there's statistics, there's, becoming the statistic of going in a path of destruction. And I became a teenage mom at the age of 15. And I knew that I wanted more for my son. And so I didn't want to be that statistic. And I moved out on my own when I was 16. And my son's father stayed with me, and we knew that we wanted more as a family. And I suppressed all of the things that I went through, but I was so grateful that I got out when I did. And I always said that my son was my saving grace. And if it wasn't for him allowing me to get out of the situation and the trauma that I was in, where would my life have gone? So I always say, he was my saving grace. And so from there, I had to learn how to be a mom and how to do adult things at 16 years old. And so I suppressed all of my trauma for the majority of my life, because now my priority was, how do I give him the best life that I didn't have? And that was my main focus. It wasn't me trying to figure out, how do I overcome the trauma that I've been through? It was, how do I give my son the best life and not have to go through the trauma that I've gone through, and to break the cycle. So I put myself and my healing on the back burner until I could no longer do that. There was a breaking point for me, because suppressing all of those feelings and emotions and not knowing actually how to feel emotions, growing up not being able to feel emotions, it was hard not even knowing how to heal, because I don't know how to even feel emotions. And so a lot of my clients have the same experiences when it comes to trauma, is not knowing how to feel emotions. And so, but it goes hand in hand with the trauma. So, helping other women has been a mission for me. And I always felt like I had a purpose. Like, what was my trauma for? you
Yeah.
know, and I've questioned that often throughout my healing, like, why me? Like, why did this happen to me? And throughout my work, I've answered that question and I've turned it into a positive. I've turned it into, it happened to me because I now have a story to tell that can now help other women. And I now have the courage and the strength and the resilience to be able to do that for them, right? Because they're not alone. And my story, once I get it out there, is so powerful. And the message behind it is so powerful that they'll understand that they're not alone. And if I can get through this, and if I can overcome and be a teenage mom and do all of the things and even heal, then you can too, right? And so that is my mission of helping women get through their trauma and know that they can too be resilient and come out on the other side of it and actually live the life that they deserve.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that is really powerful. I mean, I was just kind of playing through this in my head as you were talking about, your journey, and I'm thinking at the age of 16, I mean, how would you know, just so many things, right? I mean, there's just so many questions racing through my head as I'm just kind of visualizing, you're talking about your story. I mean, but it's so powerful how, you've obviously come out of it really strong, right? And obviously raised your son through all of this. But at the same time, I mean, I love that you're coming out and you want to help others who are obviously in a similar journey and that mindset, because I think it's so important, right? Because, I mean, we all know we hear this, but living it is very different. But, having that positive mindset and also just rubbing that around like people around you, right? I think that's so important because people look at you and they're like, oh my gosh, like I see this person as a model because, they've actually gone through this, but they're still smiling. They're still, positive. They're still going through it. I'm sure trauma is pretty deep, right? Because I mean, I'm a certified like yoga teacher, right? And I just recently did a trauma informed, yoga certification. And that's when I learned that there's so much and the difference between like trauma and just stress, right? I mean, we all go through some form of stress in life, but I think trauma is completely different because there's like layers below, right? Kind of that stress. So, I mean, I'm curious, like, what is your definition? Like, when you think about trauma, what does that actually mean?
So there's different layers of trauma, right? And different people will say, my trauma goes deeper than this, or my trauma starts here.
Yeah.
And so to peel the layers back, you have to start at a different level. And everybody's journey of their trauma is different. So it all looks different. Like my trauma looks different than, so and so's trauma.
Yep.
So I'll use me and my brother and my sister, for instance. We have different age
Hmm.
gaps. So for me and my sister, our trauma looks different because
Gotcha.
there's 4 years between us. So when I talk about my trauma compared to her trauma, not that I'm comparing, but her trauma looks completely different from mine. So when I peel back my layers of trauma, hers doesn't resemble the same experiences, but we both have trauma from our childhood that we work
Got it.
through.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know it's like this can just be a topic on its own because I think
Yeah.
there's layers, right, around just trauma or even defining it. I mean, it's obviously very subjective, right? I mean, to your point. But yeah, I think, yeah, I just love your mission and I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing and empowering other women, right? So I guess I would love to kind of go to the next question is, how do you guide women in reclaiming their self-worth and just even overcoming any kind of self-doubt, specifically if, like obviously going through trauma, right? Because that changes you.
It definitely does change you. Reclaiming your self-worth, it starts by realizing that it never left you, right? It just got buried under all of the hurt and pain. And when you start peeling back the layers is when you start to find it. When I help women reconnect with themselves and taking the small steps, we get back to the basics, and then they start to see themselves, and it's just the baby steps, and then they'll start reconnecting and they're like, oh my gosh, right? And it's the small wins, and then they will connect with the small wins and be like, I feel it. And then they can, and then they're like, they start working on those negative thoughts. And I always teach them, like, every time you have a negative thought, grab your journal and turn that negative thought into the positive, counter that negative thought with something positive, whatever it can be. Like, I'm not good enough. Well, tell me, why are you not good enough? Where'd that thought come from? Let's turn that into a positive. Yes, you are good enough. You are worthy. Yep. Right? Okay. So we work through those. And one of the biggest parts is showing them how to treat themselves with self-love. Right? Self-love is the foundational work, because it all starts with how you love yourself.
Exactly.
Right? That is the foundation. So we have to get back to the foundational work of, how do you love yourself? Because that was the first step that I had to take, is I needed to learn how to love myself. I had no idea how to love myself. And once I learned how to love myself, I was able to love other people. I was able to love my kids. I was able to love my husband. Me and my husband have been together for 25 years, and I had no idea how to love him probably for the first 18 years, because I didn't know how to love myself. So loving yourself is so powerful. And once we get that foundation, then we work on, the self-worth, the self-acceptance, and all of the things that come with it.
Got it. So you essentially go through a certain strategy, or just a lot of different steps through the process. Okay. Got it. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I totally agree, right? It's like the analogy when you board a plane, right? And they talk about the oxygen mask is like, first help yourself before you even reach out, even if it's a child next to you, but first it's you before you even, help anybody next to you, right? So I think that just resonates. But I also feel like, again, me coming from a traditional Asian Indian conservative family too, I always felt that women, right, never thought about self-care. They never emphasized, right, that, hey, you need to first take care of yourself. It was always about, the family, the children, and you got to be an awesome mom. You got to be, a great parent. But it's like, okay, well, you're also doing a lot of things, but are you caring for your own self? So yeah, so I love it that you just go through this exercise of, even self-love and self-care, and why that's actually important, especially for women. I mean, I just feel like most times we're running like headless chickens, and I really hope we all pause and we all just slow down and think about, all right, there are things we need to do for ourselves. So love that.
Well, we definitely put ourselves last, because I know for me, for forever, for the longest time, it was, husband and kids come first. And then at the end of the day, my house came next. And then there was never enough time for me. There was never enough time for me until I started doing my self-discovery work. And then I always came first. And then I gave myself to my husband and my kids, and then my home.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I think we need to change that. So I'm so glad you're doing a lot of this. So the next question is, I mean, you've helped women build purpose-driven online businesses. So can you explain a bit about how entrepreneurship, can help with just financial independence, but also just personal healing, right? Because I feel like this all ties back to what we were just talking about, which is self-care, but also financial independence. How do you, just start feeling that self-worth, really?
Yeah. So it does. It ties into feeling like you are worthy, like you've been able to achieve something. So for me, I dropped out of school when I had my son. So I felt unworthy. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I didn't have, like my husband, he continued his education. He got, like he was going to be the breadwinner and I was going to be the stay-at-home mom. So for me, I felt like I wasn't worthy, like I didn't have a purpose. Even though I was a stay-at-home mom, my husband always reassured me,
Exactly.
you have a purpose. This is your purpose. Like, and God love him. He, to this day, he reassures me, like, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we are, right? But deep down inside, it's like, but I don't feel it. Like, I don't feel like I'm contributing. I don't feel like I have a purpose without having that financial backing.
Yep.
So for me, I think it's really important and it makes women feel valuable for their own self-worth when they have that financial independence, when they have that financial contribution that they can give to support their families as well, right? Whether it's at home, they have the capability of looking after their family from home, as well as doing something that gives them purpose.
Exactly.
Right? Like for me, I was able to find my purpose, do something that I'm so passionate about, and I can help women do the exact same thing. They can find their purpose while making financial impact with their family.
Yep. Yep. Love it. Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you integrate self-discovery and healing in your, coaching programs? And why do you even think this holistic approach is important, especially for women who've gone through trauma?
How do I incorporate it?
Yes, like how do you bring this together in your coaching programs, even at a high level, right? I mean, I know you touched a bit already about some of the techniques, right? But I'm just curious, like, what is that process, right, that you kind of follow in your coaching programs?
So I have a one-on-one coaching program where I will do work one-on-one with my clients and we will work through every process. We'll start from the foundational work. And then once we get to the process of they want to find their purpose, it's a process. Yeah. And then we'll decide like, what is it that brings you, what lights you up, what fires you up inside. And once we get to that level, then we go from there. Like, how can we make you get to the next process, whether it's coaching that they want to go to. I have affiliate programs where I can send them on that next level, or if it's I want to start a business, then I have courses that I can guide them to get them on that level.
Got it.
But I have connections and out there where I can then lead them to get them on the next path to help them on their journey.
Got it. So in your experience, I'm curious, what are the biggest challenges you've seen women, face when they're trying to, I guess, align their business ventures with life purpose? But I also feel, the trauma is another aspect, right? So I'm just curious with the people you've worked with so far, what do you see are some of those biggest challenges or obstacles that they need to jump
it for their business?
Yes, for the business, I think is one piece, but I also would love to know, just even as they're going through trauma or coming to you and they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm stuck, right? So what are just maybe just one or two examples, right? With just the clients you worked with, what have you seen?
One obstacle right now that I'm seeing with a client is what's her obstacle? I'm just trying to think. I don't want to get too personal.
No. Yeah, of course. I mean, there's no names, but I was just curious in terms of, like just one of the challenges, right? Or a place where, they're coming from and they're saying, hey, I need help, right? Like, what is that? What does that look like? Is all I'm trying to just get an example for the audience. But
so her obstacle right now is trying to move past her, I don't know how to, so her husband had a heart attack and she's trying to move past that trauma of getting through to her husband to get into a healthier lifestyle
Got it.
because she doesn't want to lose her husband. And so she is dealing with the trauma of almost losing her husband
Mm,
and not being able to get through to him that she doesn't want to lose him permanently. And he's just not willing to change his lifestyle. And so I'm trying to work with her that you can't change somebody else, but you just need to work through yourself. Like let's work through your trauma of almost losing your husband.
exactly.
And then once we are able to work through that, and your husband sees that, you're not coming at him from a negative, like always yapping, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Then maybe he'll see that, you are concerned. You're not coming at him from a negative space, but you're genuinely like, I'm concerned. Like, I just want you to know that I want you here for the rest of my life and your life. Like, I don't want to lose you. So we're trying to work through that and her trauma of almost losing her husband.
Got it. Got it. No, thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I think that's so powerful because I mean, personally have, recently seen a couple of friends where their spouses, right, have gone through a very similar situation, right? And I mean, it's been a variety of health issues, but yes, I mean, one of them was, yes, a cardiac arrest, right? So things like that, I think, just I feel each time I see things like that, it just puts life in perspective because then you realize I don't know, like don't sweat the small stuff. I'm sure you've read the book, or at least I have. And so, each time it just grounds, me coming back to say, all right, well, you know what? What I'm facing today is not a big deal. Like there are bigger things in life. So, it's not so bad. And I'm actually like very blessed to be where I am, right? So I think it really helps us all center and ground ourselves back, right? But I could
Yeah.
totally imagine, I mean, you helping somebody going through that process.
Yeah.
So yes, no, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, and I know I mentioned, when I introduced you, you have like 7 different coaching certifications. Can you share a bit just for the audience? I mean, where did you do these and what kind of certifications?
Yeah. So I just plan on taking one
So just taking
certification.
a journey. Okay.
And so I planned on taking the mindful certification and through Transformational Academy online. And I did that course and I just fell in love with their learning strategy. And so I just love learning. I love taking in the information and I'm just, so then they offered another course and I was just like, yeah, why not? Like, why not? And
Yes.
then it just didn't stop. Just kept, I just was like, you know what? It won't hurt. They're all in aligned with each other. And I know people who could benefit from all of them. The last course that I took was a sobriety coaching course. And I know people in my circle who could benefit from that as well. I, yeah, I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to have all of the knowledge.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
awesome because I feel like, again, I'm also one of those eternal curious beings, right? Who just loves to learn. And
Yeah.
I mean, even this podcast, it was like 2 months ago, just, just sitting there and sipping on my tea. And I realized, you know what? Maybe I should do something to share, knowledge and bring other individuals who are in this space, right? Who can also share their knowledge because I feel that's so important, especially in this day and age, right? Where there's so much awareness, there's education about eating healthy, about being physically fit, movement. And, of course, we are all looking at alternative healing ways, right? Like whether that's meditation, whether that's yoga, like so many different ways. So that's how I felt, wow, this would be awesome to bring people together and share, their practices and what has helped them or to heal others, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so no, I love it. I love that curiosity and the learning. So keep that going. And maybe next time I talk to you, you may be at 20. Just kidding.
Absolutely.
Just kidding, but it never hurts. So no, I love it. I have to say that, every time I hear, that powerful story, especially if a woman, has gone through an experience, but coming out of it, in a positive way because you want to impact others, right? Or help others who will or may have gone through, a similar situation, right? Or maybe even you just coming up with your story will help somebody who, probably will think twice before they even encounter a situation like that. So I think it's just so powerful. So I really truly appreciate the work you're doing in the community and you just sharing your story. I think it's so powerful. So thank you. Yes, no, I appreciate you sharing all of this today with the audience. And do you want to just share with the audience where they can reach out or find you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on Instagram at myphonepower with underscore Erica, or my website at mindfulpower slash .ca slash home.
That's right.
Mindfulpower.ca slash home.
You're in Canada. That's right. So do you only do virtual sessions or you do also in-person coaching sessions?
I don't, if they're local, I would do in-person sessions, yeah, or virtual. And then I have my Soulful Shift group as well program.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, that's always good to know because I know some individuals only practice virtually. So I think it's good, for people who are listening just to know if they're local in Canada, then, they could probably just reach out for any in-person sessions.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much again, Erica, for being with us here.
Thank you.
Thank you.